we are live on every platform. So, hello everyone. We are here. We are from Motia, and today we are going to build another application, or we can say like continuing the previous application and adding more things to our previous application. So, we saw in the last webinar where Sergio discussed how you can build to-do app with streaming as well as APIs, writing APIs with Motia and different things. We were really amazed by such a response in our first webinar. So we are looking forward to the more of this, and that's what motivated us to continue our webinar and do more. So today we also have Mike. Mike is our founder and CEO. So I will hand over to Mike in a couple of minutes, but let's start with the webinar. So if you have any of the questions, just add it to the chat. We all are seeing in all of your questions in the chat, but I will also highlight in our webinar. So if Sergio, Mike wants to answer, they can also come up. Otherwise, I can also answer that. Any other things, you can also tweet about it, the screenshot, anything. We are always fine with all of these things. So yeah, introducing myself, I'm Rohit. I work as the head of developer relations at Motia. So if you're seeing all things developer stuff, that's what I'm do. But yeah, without wasting your time, I will move towards Mike. So yeah, Mike, do you have your couple of words for Motia and all of the audience?
Yeah, we're very excited about Moshe. I thought of the idea probably around the beginning of the year, and it's really exciting to see it start to come to fruition and see some real folks, using it in production. And I'm excited for these webinars to help people kind of understand the vision and where we're headed.
Yes, thanks Mike for that. I'm seeing like all of the folks are actually joining the webinar, so they are saying hello. So hello everyone, thanks for joining. You are just on time. Definitely we were also late, sorry for that. But yeah, let's go ahead with a couple of questions with Mike first. So Mike, so how Mosha came into the picture, like what was your vision, like and today when you see like Mosha has been it's like we are in beta. Mocha Cloud is in beta, and our framework is also doing nice. We are seeing like very nice people building actual stuff in Mocha, and which is really exciting, right? People are using couple of popular agentic framework and different things inside Mocha. So yeah, we will love to know your vision, and then you can talk about like what you see further in upcoming days.
Yeah, the original idea came because I was building a lot of these type of asynchronous event-based backends for solutions for my company, my previous company, and for other companies. And what I noticed was there wasn't really a solution that was targeted towards backend engineers to solve these kind of asynchronous agentic workflow type of solutions. So if you look at the landscape, there's no code and low code. That's kind of Zapier, Make, N8N, Gumloop, like these type of solutions. Those are really targeted towards back of office and non-technical folks for the most part. Then there's the whole section which would be kind of AI, ML, data science, and this is the lang chain, lang graph, DSPY, that whole lemma index, etc. These are kind of aimed towards the machine learning, data science, AI folks. We have AI agent frameworks that are kind of their own thing, but those are again those are focused. The control flow of those systems are kind of focused towards prompt engineers or context engineers. And then you have your durable execution frameworks that are running. That's like temporal, Apache Airflow, ingest, and trigger.dev, and they all kind of solve different problems for different target audiences. But what I wasn't seeing was kind of a holistic system that could solve all of the problems that I was trying to solve. So when I was going to build a solution from start to finish, I would have to include API frameworks. I'd have to include background queuing frameworks. I'd have to include durable execution or workflow engine frameworks. I'd have to include streaming frameworks and streaming tools. I'd have to include state. And then I have to include, tie all of those things together with observability. So open telemetry or Datadog or something like this. And what I ended up with, what you end up with is maybe 7 different frameworks or systems or platforms or tools tied together. And it's really a lot to do to just build a modern application. And the thesis behind Motia is that this is only going to get much, much, much worse, right? So if you look at how software engineering works, in timescales is like, generally speaking, it goes, back end to front end to back end to front end in terms of what the main, like what's the hot side of engineering, what's the focus, and when I started my career, this was right around the digital transformation phase. And this was like called the spaghetti code era. And every company was kind of rolling their own bespoke systems, and they were pushing tons and tons and tons of complexity, which was all the logic of a business, into a server. And out of that complexity came the MVC era. So this was like server response MVC. This was Rails, Django, Laravel, .NET, MVC, Spring, et cetera, et cetera. So everybody kind of moved into this MVC because we needed a common pattern to follow to manage that level of complexity. And the next paradigm shift was towards the front end. So everybody was doing basically the same thing, but shoving all this complexity into the front end, creating ever more complex web applications. And the same pattern kind of followed where, that was the kind of the jQuery spaghetti code era. And during this time, we had then that level of complexity was not maintainable by the systems that were in place. So this was the framework wars, the front end framework wars. So that's Knockout, Angular, Ember, React, Vue, et cetera, et cetera. And React won that battle by a long, many orders of magnitude. And the reason why they won that battle, in my opinion, is they picked the correct core primitives. They picked really like super powerful core primitives that were simple, but they abstracted away all of the complexity of building inside the DOM. So you have event loop and the DOM nodes and event listeners and all those things. But as a React developer, you only need to know 3 or 4 things about a component, and you can build as complex of a web application on the other side. So now fast forwarding to Motia, this is exactly what we're planning on doing and are in the process of doing with the backend. So if you look at what is happening right now, because of AI and LLMs, we can now take we can look at a workflow and we can or a process and we can see individual steps, and we can take those steps and we can move them over to the backend as an asynchronous automation or a step in this asynchronous automation. But what that means is there's going to be a massive influx of complexity coming to the backend. So the paradigm shift is going to be, the last 10 years was front end, and now it's going to be coming back to back end, where all of this complexity is pushed into these backend systems. And what I believe will happen is the same thing that happened with the other paradigm shifts. It's going to be a ton of complexity pushed into the system. It's going to be too complex to support that level of complexity, and a new pattern, a new framework, and a new platform and a new paradigm will come out of that. And that is the plan for Motia. So Motia handles this. We have one core primitive. It's called the step, and it describes where this runtime function runs, when it runs, how it runs, and what it does. And it comes completely all of the things you need to build any backend pattern come out of that core primitive, and then connecting the core primitive, connecting the steps together, you can build any pattern you want. And that's the vision of Motia. We need to simplify it for your average developer who's saying, look, I want to build this backend system that does this thing. It needs to be simple, but it also needs to be powerful enough to scale up and to manage really complex things, and also powerful enough so that the library maintainers and the ecosystem that's going to be built around it can build powerful tools. Like this is what React did. React gave, they have register component, they have create root, I believe is the other primitive, and then they have context. So they have three core primitives, and these primitives ultimately allowed for things like Redux, Next.js, Remix, and TanStack, and like all of these tools are ultimately built on the core primitives of React. So we need to really nail exactly, like we need to nail the step and get it to be an extremely powerful core primitive, and these kind of more complex systems will come out of that
Yeah,
paradigm.
yeah. Yeah, like to summarize, you have like we have discussed like all of the entire paradigm shift from one framework to another, like one kind of engineering to another engineering, and then like entire shift of we are seeing the paradigm of engineering, right? And we are into the new shift here where we are talking about Motia. And if you everyone of your audience, if you want to learn more, I will definitely recommend to check out the manifesto we have written. It talks everything which Mike discussed here, but Mike has given you like most detailed answer you can get about why Motia and what's the vision behind Motia. So that was actually the entire story behind starting the Motia. And Mike has a vision, and then all came into the picture, and then we started doing it. So without wasting time, I have another question. So I asked this previously to Sergio, but I will also like Mike to answer this again. Like, Mike, if you want to explain Motia to a non-developer, how you will do it? So just give me the simple.
To a non-developer. Well, I probably would start with the history. I, I think it would probably sound similar to my answer where I explain these kind of paradigm shifts. Um, it's a good question. I don't really know. I mean, Moshe is a very technical focused company. So there are other like I talked about the products, for instance, the low code and the no code solutions for building these things. And we are explicitly not tackling that. Like we're focusing we are a technical company, we're an engineering company, and our target for using users of Moshe is the uh the engineering teams. So I'm not sure I would explain it to a non-technical person yet.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I actually brought this into the picture with Sergio as well as you, because a lot of people ask like, what is the difference between N10 and Motia, and like this is like repetitive question, right? So that's why this is like one of the answer which can help users to understand why you should like differ between the both. But other than that, we also got nice question on YouTube, like difference between Convex and Motia. Convex is also like a backend platform. So what is the difference between Motia and Convex? So we can discuss that definitely. But I have a couple of questions to ask for first to Sergio, and then meanwhile I can answer this in chat box. So Sergio, first of all, what we are building today?
Hey, yeah, hey everyone, Sergio here again, head of engineer at Motia. Yeah, this is not something that I'll be building in live, but something that we built, and I'm really excited to show. It's a chess game all built with Motia. The front end obviously is not built with Motia because Motia is mostly backend focused, but the front end has like lots of real time events that happen, so you guys can like watch live games in chess with one AI playing against another AI. But it can also like you can also play against your friends as well. Pretty exciting, and it was really simple to build. Of course, that there were like some complexities around like how do we do the prompt engineering with the chess and LLMs. But other than that, like structuring the backend was really simple for us. And I'm
Yeah.
assuming it's time to share, or maybe for a little bit later.
Yeah. So I just want to go ahead with your today's live demo. So after that I will go with couple of questions, but first let's, without wasting time, We are already in 15 minutes into our webinar, so let's go ahead and start our today's live demo, where you can discuss about Chess Arena. Meanwhile, I will also disturb you with the questions if I come any. So yeah, please do. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Before I actually share the screen, I'm going to talk a little bit about the background around why we decided to build this tool, this platform. This is basically like a showcase app where we want to show the power of Motia and how simple we could deploy and build with Motia. So this is a platform that's everything is real time. So I'm going to start sharing my screen.
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, one second. I need to.
Yeah, meanwhile, Mike, if you want, you can answer this question, which is asked by one of our user, like difference between the convex and Motia.
Yeah, to be clear, I haven't used convex deeply, but my understanding of convex is it's centered around a database and it provides like reactive state, like a way of programming around reactive state. And you know, Supabase was built around database. Convex is built around database. The way I think of it is like these, Supabase, Convex, that's like the database is like central. The In Vercel, like historically, Vercel has been kind of best in class around, in Next.js around being the tool for front end, like best in class for scaling front end. And Moshe wants to be best in class for scaling around event-based systems. So the entire, the core of Moshe is event-based systems, and that's kind of the main difference. We will have in the future we will have reactive state, and we provide state now. We will have reactive state, so you can program some similar things, but really the event-based system is the core of Moshe, and the main difference between those two.
Yeah, so there is also another question, which is like I can also take it over, or you can answer this. Like, I wanted to know, will it be able to scale a very large application with thousands of users, and how will it be able to scale that? So first of all, if I want to answer this, I will go like, we are today discussing the Chase Arena. So Chase Arena is the example which is live and production ready, available on chasearena.ai. So this is actually people are using it live, and we have seen like thousands of people are actually using it, and they are trying to play with the games. The application works in a manner like there is like different AI models which play together, and you can see it live, as well as you can also play the chess live with all of these models like Grok 4, Sonnet 4, or any model you like a lot, right? And then we benchmark it based on like how many scores, how many wins they have done and all. So that's how it works. So yeah. So what is yeah, so I think Sajo is back here, so
Yeah,
without
I'm back.
wasting time,
Sorry, I
I,
had
I
to.
will I
I
would
had to
like
close the
Sajo
app
to
to
go.
give permissions.
Oh, okay,
Cool.
okay.
So
Yeah,
But
Sajo,
let
go
Rohit,
ahead and share
let's
your screen. Yeah.
circle back to the scalability
Yeah.
question after this,
Yeah,
and
man.
Sergio
Yeah.
can answer that pretty deeply. So
Yeah.
sounds good. Yeah. Let me share my screen. Cool. I'm assuming you guys can see my screen. Yeah. So like first, I want to talk about like all of the architecture, right? So one thing that I really like about Moshe is that like we build highly scalable stuff backend, and like when we build highly scalable products that are like all event driven, it's really hard to visualize what our backend look like all of the events that we get and all of the endpoints that we do provide. Can you guys still see my screen?
No, no.
no, it went away.
Not sure why.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, we can see all of the endpoints that we have in case here. Let me do a zoom. Like all of the endpoints, the pulls and the gets that we have, and we can also visualize the whole flow, right? We can understand like what each step is connected, how each step is connected to another, right? And let me show the chess arena game. So sharing a little bit of the background is, yeah, like we wanted to showcase how simple it is to create a backend with Motia. So like it's all of these. I'm gonna show the code in a bit, but basically we can play against AI, and I'm gonna use Gemini to play. And this is a session, right? When I start playing, I can play against Gemini, and yeah, it's thinking, and then it starts playing the game. Let's see how much time it takes to generate. Let me see if I can increase the size. And then start playing, right? So we can play against AI, but that's not the coolest part about it, because we can actually have one AI play against another and watch it. And one thing that we want to do is like we want it to be a benchmark with AIs. We know that AIs are not built for playing chess for sure, but it's good to see like how they can interact with another. So I'm gonna create a game with Gemini playing against Grok. And when I do it, we can kind of mimic one thing that is really important in the software industry, where we can have steps that are like manual interaction in the reveal side or moderation that we can automate by using AI, and then we can quickly switch, right? In the case before, we had a human in the loop interaction where was actually me playing against AI, but now we have AI versus AI. So we can kind of like do this mimicking of like how we can replace manual moderation with an AI moderation tool. So yeah, this is basically how we do it. We can chat, and everything is real time. Everything is real time. I can actually play against someone else. So let
Can
me
you
go
can
back.
you could post the is this you could post the link here, right? And we can follow
Yep,
along.
Yeah,
let me do it.
yeah,
Gotta do
yeah.
it
So
now.
what Sergio meant, like he will just create the stream link which is available for us. So I will just go and click on the link, and you will see me playing with Sergio.
Yeah, this one is actually the AI versus AI, right? But I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna create a new game to play against another person, and I'm gonna share his link with Rohit. Can you open that link and send me a request to play against me?
Oh wait.
Cool.
Oh, it's
Yeah, it was
takeoff.
Mike, right? So I'm gonna accept and I'm gonna play against Mike.
Oh wait,
And
hold
yeah,
on.
it always
Back.
starts, right? So I'm gonna play the game and Mike is gonna play the next move. So everything here is using Motia. We didn't use any other tool. That's what we really wanted to do. I mean, the tools that we are using obviously are the AI calls for the AI calls, but other than that, we are not using any database. We are not using any real-time service. Everything was like built from with Motia. So yeah, this is basically what we're doing.
It's funny.
So yeah, so okay, I'm not gonna dive too deep in these game sessions because this could take forever.
we
Let me go
we're
back
not very
to
good either. That
yeah,
was not a good opening set of moves.
yeah, for sure. All right, so let me switch to the code, and I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. So yeah, as you can see, like there are not so many steps. These are basically the entry points of the whole app, right? So we have some API steps, which are ultimately an API call, and we have some event steps where is something that can happen that can be triggered on another API step or on another event step. In this case, if I go back to the flow, you can have this AI player, which is mapped to this one. It's pretty much the same thing, the AI. And we have another event step that can trigger it. But we can have a move piece that could trigger AI move or could trigger another thing. So like we can connect these things and they can like, okay, we can have independent stuff that can happen and we don't need to call the functions inside because like if this one fails, we can retry after, you know? So like it's pretty good to do it in really resilient and fault tolerant application. And the good thing is that we are deploying it to Motia Cloud. So I'm going to show Motia Cloud now. So this is the UI that I see for Chess Arena. So like all of the versions that we deployed, we are using continuous deployment pipeline from GitHub Actions. By the way, this project is fully open source. So if you guys click on Powered by Open Source, you'll be able to see the whole project. So everything is open. You guys feel free to dive deep to the code and see how we did it. And then inside, yeah, we can actually see all of the logs of things that happened, and we can see the traces of things that are going on, and yeah, all of the versions. And one good thing about Mocha Clouds that like if these versions somehow had an issue, we can quickly roll back to a previous versions really easily just by clicking on this promote version. They would promote this previous version to be live. Cool. I'm gonna
That's
stop
awesome.
sharing. Maybe we can switch to
Somebody asked to switch to light mode. Can you just change it to light mode real quick?
yeah.
Just to see the interface.
Yeah, live mode is yeah. Oh, one thing though that I haven't showed is the endpoints, and we can play around with the the endpoints on a local, right? So it helps a lot. So we don't need to use any other tools. Everything is here, and everything is saved. So if I change it, the content, and then refresh, it will be there, and also we can really play around with it really fine. I can close it, and maybe we can check the documentation, around what we created in the steps.
Yeah.
Can you trigger one just to show the traces that
Yeah.
you have?
Yeah. So let me open here. Tracing. Let me see. I'm gonna use a create game. Yeah. Create game. Let me not use AI. Think that's. Let me see. Yeah, it's unauthorized because it needs to have logging. So I would need to use the headers and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
at least we can see we have the create game and some logs, authorization header found in the request.
Cool.
Yeah, works perfectly in both light mode and dark mode.
Yeah,
Cool.
looks cool. So
Well, in terms of like it might help to talk through like I think this is like 11 or 12 steps in total. Like, it's
Yeah.
really there's quite a bit of actual functionality happening within those 12 steps, and this would be a fairly sizable application with a couple different services involved
Yeah.
without Motia, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So like if you open the steps file, we have two groups, two
your
folders.
screen is
It's
not visible.
blank right now.
Yeah.
Okay, let me try again. I don't think my Mac is gonna allow me to do it because it's not showing anything for some reason. You guys see anything?
No, it's blank.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, like if we can, it's like if we just want to show the steps, we can just share the open source GitHub repo. We also have the code there. Yeah.
Well, I think it's worth walking through some of the things that provided, like streaming becomes really easy in Motia because it comes out of the box, and this would be
Yeah.
kind of a substantial bit to implement. The other thing in Chess Arena that's like much easier to do is one of the steps was done through an LLM. The evaluation step was done through, it was all TypeScript steps, and then we were doing evaluation with an LLM, but the LLM was not performing the evaluation task up to the standard that we needed it to. So we just basically took that step and we swapped it out for a Python step that used Stockfish, and then we used Stockfish to do the actual evaluation of each move. And that was, maybe Sergio, you can kind of talk about that, but that was extremely easy to do. We just took the step and we swapped it out for another step, and it was a Python step, and it had access to all the Python libraries that we needed to do the evaluation. The alternative to this would be to spin up an entire service,
A new
to
service, yeah.
a full new service. You have your TypeScript app, and you would have had to, fast API and maybe BullMQ or a background running thing, and
Yeah.
there would be lots of things involved to get that to work, and you have to go host it. It would be a whole nother service.
Yeah. And you need to maintain the service, make sure it is always there, right? Make sure it's scalable as well. Whereas in Motia, we don't need to worry too much about it because like it's all baked in the same ecosystem. And if it works on your local, it should work on a remote environment as well.
Yeah, cool. So can we just dive into the code, like if possible, like if you can show us like how
Yeah,
we
I'm trying
program.
to share my screen, but for some reason it's not showing any screens in the
Oh, okay.
app.
Okay.
Um,
No worries.
even what about showing the? It was working showing the
Yeah.
workbench, right?
Workbench. Yeah.
So I mean, you can
Yeah,
open the code there if you want to.
the problem is that like I try to share and I can even select any screens. I'm gonna open the code here and I'm sure it's gonna be blank. Can you guys see my screen?
It shows it's loading. Yeah, no, it's blank.
Yeah, it's blank.
So that might be an issue with the app that we are using.
Even if you're
Mm,
sharing a web browser, like if you open up GitHub.
Yeah, I mean I cannot share a single window. Like they are all transparent to me when I try to select the images, the windows.
uh,
Fortunately,
let,
Um,
let, let me try sharing
yeah,
my
Rohit,
screen.
why don't you open up the GitHub and just see if we can go through file,
Yeah, doing it. Yeah, can you see my screen?
yeah, cool. So go to API and click on steps folder. In steps folder, and then there you should see 2 folders. Yeah, 4 folders. Alt and chess. Click in chess. These are the core. No, sorry, chess. Yeah, these are the core steps. Everything around the logic on chess, they are there. So yeah, we have like 1 create game, and then 2 get game, the game ongoing game session, and then we have the move API. So like if you click on create game, the 1, you should see like it is pretty simple. We're just checking a few things, and go to the bottom. There you go. The handler is like it's pretty simple, just a few lines of code. Of course, like we are using another function, the create game at line 95, and then that's where the logic lies. But like you can see, like the entry point is really simple. It doesn't have too much logic, although like it does lots of things, right? Because we are abstracting away too much logic around like how do we do stuff. So like this chat created game event at line 100 is actually where we start the flowing the data through events, and it's all synchronous, right? So like this event will trigger other events that I showed earlier. So yeah, like if we are playing one game against AI with 2 AIs playing against each other, this chess game created will trigger the LLM call, which will then trigger again the same event, and then we'll have this event loop happening where one AI can play against another.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. And then if you go to streams folder on the side, yeah, there we have the chess stream, the 3rd file. And in there, we just define the schema. We are using the schema common package to use the same type across the backend and the front end. So you need to go to the chess types folder, which is on the side. We probably need to scroll down to the very bottom. More, yeah, types. Yeah, here are all of the types that we define. So it's just a solid schema that we need to use and send it to these streams. And we're basically going to follow the same pattern. And whenever we change it, it will be streamed to whoever is subscribing.
So just to explain it to folks, like you define a Zod type validation, you define a streams file, and then can you show, so like all you have to do really is create the streams file, and then we need to show people like how easy it is to use that. Like you just create your streams with the
Yeah.
what the stream looks like, and then it will automatically put that stream inside of your context um of your step. So we should
Yeah.
go show them like using a stream inside of a.
Yeah. So go to the top, scroll to the top on the side panel, and then go to services. Click on chess. Let's look for create game. Yeah, create game, the second file. So this is the function that we are calling from that step that I showed. And then, yeah, we are using the streams, chess game, the stream that we created. And then we set with the game ID that we just created. And we set this state, right? To the fan is basically how we have the state in a chess game. And what is the first turn? It always starts with the white player. And then status is expanding. And then we have the list of the players, white and black. And yeah, so like whenever someone plays, so now please go to the move file on the side. So whenever we play, let me scroll a little bit more. Yeah, this we have some logic to see to make sure like is it a draw, is it a game over, and so. But if we scroll down, it's just a little bit more. You can see we are changing the actual state of the game. So this new game that we see at line 75. Yeah, we are changing the state and setting the new fan, the game move after in the line 77, because it's after we actually perform the move that we got from whatever it was doing, if it was either AI or a human. And yeah, we increase the number of turns, and we set the status to completed if it's uh, finalized, and we set the winner to see like whoever won the match. And every time that we do these streams, the stream name dot set, that means that we will apply it to a stream, to a state, and then whoever is subscribing to this game ID will get the latest result. So it'll always be up to date. So that's the beauty
Right.
of things, because we simplified all of these complexity around real-time events, because we don't need to worry too much like, oh, is it out of sync? Did we disconnect? Are we on an elevator? All of these things we simplified, because whenever we lose connection and get connection back, it will just sync again with the current state.
And then can you quickly just show the client? I mean, it's pretty simple, but we have a React client, for example, to subscribe.
Yeah. So scroll down to close the API folder. Can you collapse the API folder on the very top? Yeah, on app, source, pages, game page. Let me see if it's this one. Yeah, you need to go to components, chess and chess game. Scroll up just a little bit to see the components folder. Yeah. And then open chess folder and open chess game TSX file.
Yeah, there you go.
A little bit. Yeah, there you go. Cool. And then we scroll down a little bit. So at line 33, we see the use stream item. This is a hook that we provide. We have a library for that in NPM. And it's basically like the stream name, the name that I showed a little earlier. And the group ID is game, because that's how I, as a developer, wanted to have this group. And then the ID is the game ID that I showed just in a little bit ago, right? So like when we do this, we'll always make sure that we have the most up-to-date state. So like whenever we change something in the backend, it will make sure that it is applied to whoever is subscribing to this game with this ID.
Very cool.
Very cool. Yeah. And same for the every logic behind entire chess arena. So same for the scoreboard, dashboard, and
Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
Hmm.
Very good.
right.
So many people were asking about auth, right? Can we implement
Mhm.
auth in Motia backend and everything?
Yeah,
So can we
for
just
sure.
show like a small example here
Yeah.
from the auth?
Can you open? Yeah, this off we're using Superbase authentication. So if you go to the API and steps and then off, you can see two ones. One is you get users. So sometimes we want to see the user profile data. And yeah, we're using Supabase.js as the authentication layer. And in this off, we are just getting one token from the front end, which comes from Supabase. And we just create a new token because we don't want to use Supabase for everything. And then if you go to middlewares on the side, on the folder, there's this off middleware. So this is actually a component from Motia. It's an API middleware. As you can see on line 2, we are importing that from Motia. And I basically like get the authorization to check if the user is actually authorized to perform the action. So like we validate the JOT with a secret that we have on our backend. So like we are using Supabase, but we can use any other platform that does the authentication, like Auth0 and so.
And then
Yeah.
where do you apply the middleware?
Yeah, in a middleware. So if you go to create game again, the create game step underneath Chaz folder, right?
Yeah.
On the top. Yeah, create game. So in this one, scroll down a little bit. It has some logic around validation. But yeah, in the config, on the line 67, on the very top, there's this off required. This is basically how I implement it as a developer, because sometimes I want it to be authenticated, but sometimes I want it to have an off wall. In this case, it's required to have an authentication. But if you are sending a message, like on step 6, Rohit, can you open the step 6? Send message. Yeah, so you can see the middleware off is not required because anyone can send a message to a public game. And if they are not authenticated, we just come up with a name for them and they can send messages regardless. But if they are authenticated, we are going to identify them. We're going to use their names in the message.
Yeah, very cool. And this is like one of the example where we are using TypeScript as well as Python. So Python for the power of evaluations, and
Yeah.
then TypeScript for everything else, right? So that's what one of the user mentioned. Like that's what they like about Motia, the ability to plug in any other language like Python and all. So they also asked like, is Ruby allowed to? Like this was like popular question from all of the audience in Discord as well.
Yeah, we have Ruby, but we are not officially supporting, so issues might happen. And you guys can let us know whenever they happen because we can try fixing them.
Yeah. So Sergio
Yeah, I mean,
also.
well, it may be a good time to talk about kind of maybe we can answer this logger and global logger question, but we should circle back to kind of longer term kind of architectural decisions we're making right now that and in the future that we'll talk about other multi-language support and adapter layers and
Mm,
scalability. Like people
yeah.
are interested in those kind of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's do the global logger question.
Yeah. Let me just bring it here. Yeah. Yeah, Sergio. So one of the user asked like, what is the difference between logger and global logger?
You mean from the code in Chazarina or from somewhere? Because like we have the logger from the context, right? Where if you use, you get everything for free, right? All of the context. But the global logger, I'm not really sure exactly. I'm not quite following. But one thing
Yeah.
that we do have plans is right now, if whenever you want to use logger, you need to pass the context around on all of the functions. Maybe you guys can see like this handler may call something that sends the context somewhere. It's quite annoying, right? Because we need to send like maybe to other layers of the app that may not really need to be coupled to the context. So one thing that we want to do is adding some way where you can get the context from anywhere in the app. Doesn't matter if you need to pass. So you don't need to pass along as an argument. You can just pull it. We're gonna do it in Node.js real soon.
Yeah, this is equivalent to React context, right? It would be,
Exactly.
instead of one of the annoying things in React early on was like, the prop drilling pattern where you had to pass a prop all the way down the chain
Yeah.
of components. And that's, context basically solved that problem. which is kind of what the same similar plan to what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. So, Mike, do you want to ask any of the questions at the chess arena side, which can help people to understand more?
I think we covered it pretty well.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
there any other, let's see, is there any other questions from the chat on Chess Arena?
Not sure. Like, there's no one is asking anything, but I would have loved to show them actual workbench example. But yeah, in next webinar we can do that. No worries. So I'll just stop sharing my
Oh,
screen.
yeah, there's before we go into the long-term architecture thing, I think one more thing is relevant. People are asking about scalability and so Sergio, it might be good to explain how, Chess Arena is deployed to Motia Cloud.
Yeah.
Motia Cloud is built with Motia and deployed on Motia Cloud. So like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So Motia Cloud we built using Motia, and that was a requirement from Mike, and I really appreciate him for that because by using Motia ourselves, we would be able to spot lots of gaps, and we try to address most of them. I'm sure there will be more, and like as we work more on it, we'll realize. And the good thing is, like, we are using Motia Cloud to deploy itself, which sometimes comes with a challenge, but it's a good challenge to have, and also a very interesting story to tell. And it's highly scalable. Right now, we're using AWS serverless to create all of these steps. So every step that you guys see in your workbench would map to a Lambda function, which is highly scalable. You guys know, like, AWS doesn't need to prove anything else because they have proven for years. And yeah, we're using AWS serverless to create all of these steps and all of the events that flow. We're using AWS tooling as well as like SNS and SQS. So it's highly scalable and fault tolerant. But talking about the scalability on the self-host deployment, right now we have Docker, but we do understand that it's not scalable. That was the first phase in our plan. The second phase is coming with adapter layer, where you can change the logic to create messages to send to events. And then in these messages, we want to have like Rabbit MQ support. In the state and streams, we want to have Redis support, where we can create all of your infrastructure with auto scaling. And whenever it needs to scale to another instance of the Motion framework, it will, because it will use one single source of truth for the queue system and the Redis state management. So yeah, this is what we are working on this week, and we'll probably ship next week.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty cool. So I don't know if I want to take this question, but yeah, like someone asked, like, is this mobile web framework? What is this?
It's a backend framework.
Yeah, it's a backend framework.
Yeah. So yeah. So that's why we are actually doing this kind of a webinars where we can come with you, where you can ask like any kind of a questions and we can solve that and try to make you understand like what is Motia and how you can easily use it. So that's what we did in the previous session in build your first app H1, where Sergio has like given entire flow from the start, like how you can build the to do app, like writing the APIs from scratch. And this was like live coding, so I really personally liked it. So definitely I will recommend to check like previous videos, so that will help you a lot. And yeah, nice, like people are also helping others to understand, like, yeah, it is a backend framework. So this person actually attended our previous webinar. So yeah, without wasting time, so Sergio and Mike, I would like to go ahead with this webinar and ask some couple of architectural questions. So first of all, I would like to ask about like what are the planned things in the roadmap. In last webinar we didn't discuss this because we were still planning a few of the things which we wanted to add. So I saw like there's a couple of issues going on around plugins. People are also asking the doubts in Discord and everywhere. So what are the plugins and what they will do, and what are some of the things you are excited about in Mocha roadmap? So yeah, please answer that.
Cool. Maybe I can start with plugins, which I think is going to be really exciting. So like we created Motia to solve all of these burden that had in the software industry, mostly on the traditional backend engineering. And we added these UI that helps a lot on understanding how your backend looks like, how your like backend is operating with the logs and tracing and all of this stuff. And it's pretty helpful because like when I'm developing Shazarena or when I'm developing Mocha Cloud, I really go to the workbench and I see what's going on there, which is quite helpful. But one thing that I thought like could be even better is allowing the developers to create their own sections inside the workbench that could be specific to the project or specific to a use case, right? In our case, we have like the logs, we have streams, we have endpoints, flows, all there, but there could be more, right? So we want to allow the developers to build their own stuff. That could be really fun, and I'm more than excited to see how people use their creativity to build stuff in Workbench.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. Like, at the core of Moshe, we want to build, like, at the beginning of this, I discussed how React won the battle by creating the correct core primitives and creating a library that was able to have lots of things built on top of it. And that's the same goal of Moshe. You know, we want to have the core primitive and the engine that's running the system to be really powerful. And that will also include, it's the same idea with the plugins, right? So the plugins, the workbench, we can think of all the things that we think people need, but we're never going to cover that. So we need to give people the tools to build custom, the open source community can build custom. You could build a custom tool directly in your workbench for your company, that's just specific to your company. And this is like a workflow that only makes sense to your company as well. So yeah, we're excited to release that, and I'm excited to see what people come up with.
Okay. So, any other things you are excited about in the roadmap, which is already public, or it is not there? You can also let us know if you are excited about that, Sergio.
Well, I think
Yeah, we are.
Sergio touched on it, but the adapter layer is probably the most impactful thing. It may potentially be the most impactful thing that we've released yet, because it's going to allow the open source users who are deploying with Docker to produce a fully scalable system, um, which was more difficult to do prior. But now you can use adapters for instance, Redis for state and streaming, and then RabbitMQ for the queuing logic, which those three systems, or Redis and RabbitMQ are massively scalable, very well vetted systems, that you can, when you deploy this to Docker, that will be able to take you to quite a significant scale. And in turn, like, these will be, Sergio, maybe you can talk a little bit about it, but these will be basically just drop in from a user's perspective, right?
Yeah,
You'll just be able to, import the dependency, and then it just works.
yeah,
You won't
as
have
well
to
as
do any
the
kind of configuration.
exactly as well as the plugin system. We are introducing one U file where you can add the plugins that you want to use. Maybe you want to create your own, so you want to add there. Maybe you want to use a community plugin, and you can always do it, right? And at the same time, you can change the data. I mean, the stuff that it uses, the state, right? You can replace it to the Resist adapter, and you can also do the same for the event system to use RabbitMQ.
Yeah. So, also, yeah. Also, I would like to ask another question. Is like, so have so we have seen like couple of people actually going into the GitHub issues and PRs and making PRs and solving the issues, right? So do we have like really good first issues and really nice issues which contributors can take over, which are there in our audience? Do you think like any of these are is like very nice for the starters, because this will help us to help us our audience to get started with Motion and try to contribute more. So we already have the contributing.md in place. We also have the template in
Yeah.
place, which is added by one of our contributors. So yeah, yes, I.
Yeah. So like one thing first, I really appreciate you guys doing the contributions. Like we create sometimes GitHub issues and you guys like are very proactive and pick them and try to create the pull request very quickly. So that I'm really grateful for that. And one thing that I wanted to continue is supporting you guys to support us. So but like right now we're not having too many stuff to work on because like we need to make sure we have stuff that we could validate once they are like delivered, right? So we don't want to leave these pull requests open. But one thing that's the reason that the whole reason that we want to have this plugin system is that like we want to allow yourself, you guys, to do stuff that are like really interesting without being us in the middle, right? Trying to approve or to deny the contributions. So it will be really good for everyone to contribution. And yeah, we are gonna create a new repository with all of the awesome plugins, and we are more than excited to share what you guys create there.
Yeah, it's also the adapter layer is also following the same pattern. Like we are going
Yeah,
to be building adapters for state and for streaming and for logging and for all of the functionality that comes with Motia. But if you want something different, like we're going to pick our default adapters that we're going to support. But if you want to do something else, like for instance, we're picking RabbitMQ as our base default adapter for it running Motia in open source production in Docker. But if you want to use BullMQ, all you have to do is write the adapter layer. It would look very similar to the one that we've written for RabbitMQ. But if you want to use BullMQ, you can do that, and you just write the adapter layer. You don't have to wait for us to, hey, can you please add BullMQ to the supported, system? You could just write the adapter, add BullMQ, and ship it.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for answering both of these questions, Sergio and Mike. So I forgot. I was going to ask something. Yeah. So this was around. Yeah, I actually forgot
Oh,
what
well,
I
one
was.
one more thing along the same lines is like
Yeah, yeah,
we're trying to modularize the system in a way that will not block anybody. So there was a question about Ruby, a question about other,
yeah,
like
yeah,
many people asked about C Sharp, Java, .NET. It's down the line. And
yeah,
part of this modularization, plugins, adapters, we also want runtime languages. So runtime
yeah,
languages will be implemented as it well, it's going to be a runtime language module essentially. But if you really wanted another language, you could implement, C sharp and implement the runtime module for C sharp, and it would work, as long as you followed the contract of what the engine expects for a runtime module. You should be able to just, copy it. It adheres to the contract, and then it should work.
yeah. So that's what I was going to ask actually. Like, people were asking about how they can support with the C sharp contributions and how they can use
Yeah.
how they can write the
Well,
C sharp right
I mean,
steps and Ruby
the
steps and
the short answer is that we have to wait until we finish this modularization project, because it's really going to rely on the modularization project before we're going to start. And then, the Motia team will start natively supporting more languages, but that also won't stop you. Like if we're taking too
yeah,
long to get C sharp, you could just write it and just write
yeah.
the the language module, and it should work fine.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so I guess we have already taken a lot of time of audience. This is already 1 hour webinar, so
Mhm.
this was expected to be 45 minutes, but people were asking the questions, so I thought like let's do it. And yeah, but yeah, this was really fun. And thanks to the demo gods, we survived somehow. But yeah, let's we will
Only a
figure it out.
couple
Like
technical
yeah.
difficulties.
Yeah.
but but yeah, we will figure it out. So let's go. Let's do more of these webinars, and many people told like do this more often and all. We will try to put more bandwidth to this and see how this will work out. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining. So yeah, Mike or Sergio, if you have any last words to do. Otherwise, yeah, we are done.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.